You know why most business deals fall apart? It's not the banks. It's not the interest rates. It's not even in the economy. It's the sellers. Sellers make the same 5 mistakes over and over again. And if you're a buyer who knows what to look for, these mistakes are pure gold because they either give you leverage to negotiate a better deal or they're going to save you from stepping into a disaster. Think about that for a second. Would you buy a house if the seller couldn't even show you the mortgage statement or pay the utility bills or show you what the real cash flow is? Exactly. Businesses are no different. I'm Jon Stoddard from DealFlowSystem.net. I've helped buyers close more than $33 million in deals and raise over $50 million in funding. If you're working full time and you want to buy a business without wasting years chasing junk deals, this video is for you. Because buying your first business is tough. Only about 4 to 6% of people who start the journey actually close. Why? Because the process is actually full of traps. And sellers, they make mistakes that can kill deals. But when you know what to look for, you don't just protect yourself. You give yourself an edge. You become a smarter buyer. You buy safer, you buy right. So, let's get into this video, the 5 most common mistakes sellers make. And that's mistake number 1, messy financials. As you know, Warren Buffett says the language of business is accounting. And if you don't know how to read the books, can't tell the winners from the losers. This one kills more deals than anything else. Messy financials. If the seller's books look like a shoebox full of receipts, if they're using cash basis accounting with no adjustments, if there are last minute changes that magically boost earnings, which you'll see on the sim all the time, and that SDE, that's a giant red flag. And here's the truth. Clean numbers equal trust. Messy numbers equal doubt. And doubt kills deals. One of my students learned this the hard way. The seller claimed $800K in EBITDA. Now that looked amazing on paper, but when we dug in, $150,000 of that was a personal lifestyle. Cars, vacation, even tuition. Once we stripped it out, EBITDA dropped to $550,000 and the deal almost died. But because we cleaned up the numbers, we closed at a lower price. So there's a lesson there. Now, if you're a seller, get your books in order years before you sell. If you're a buyer, use messy books as leverage. Think about that for a second. Would you cut $1 million check if the P&L didn't add up? If it didn't balance? If it didn't match the tax returns? If it didn't match the bank statements? Exactly. Mistake number 2, customer concentration. All right, so that's a sneaky one. There's a sellers always brag. We've got this huge client. It's 40% of our revenue. Now, that sounds great until that one client walks. Then what do? Nearly half the business disappears. Charlie Munger calls this the single point of failure. If one domino falls, the chain collapses. Chain reaction. Now compare that to a deal I looked in Indiana. Porta potty rentals. It's not sexy, stinky, not glamorous at all. You got to be very comfortable about wanting that kind of business and then say, what do you do? Well, I clean shit. But here's the kicker. $2.3 million in revenue, 50% net margins, and no single customer was more than 5% of sales. Not sure that's done, but that's what they said. That's actually stability. You need to verify that, but it's also bankable. No SBA lender likes any more than 40%. They don't like it at 25%. So if you're buying it, you got to stress test it right here, this customer concentration. When you start looking at these deals and like, who's your customer list, you need to ask a question like, if I lose the top 2 customers tomorrow because they don't like the new owner, can the business survive? If not, you can negotiate down or walk away because no one ever went broke passing on a bad deal. All right, mistake number 3, hidden liabilities. That's like unpaid taxes, pending lawsuits that you don't know anything about until you do a UCC filing and get that information. Sometimes compliance gaps, but the seller thinks like, hey, maybe they won't notice and you can take it on. Newsflash, we, any students of mine, are always going to notice. Or anytime you hire an attorney, that's exactly what they do. And once you do, you start asking, if they're hiding that, what else are they hiding? Warren Buffett went through this at Salomon Brothers. One hidden liability nearly destroyed the firm. It's not the size of the problem, it's the loss of trust that happened. And he said he hated people that crossed him. One of my students found this in a med spa deal. Unpaid payroll taxes, big red flag. But because it was disclosed early, it was restructured, retraded, adjust the price, and they could still pursue the deal. Here's the principle. Make sure those sellers disclose early to help build trust between you and them. If they hide it and the deal dies, well, Jim Robe said it best. Discipline weighs ounces. Regret weighs tons. So do that discipline of diligence up front and boom, find the liabilities before they find you. All right. Mistake number 4, overdependence on the founder. Sometimes this mistake number 4, the business is basically the founder. He's been running for 20 years. He's still getting customers. He knows all the customers because he brought them in and he runs the operations. He closes all the sales. He's the best guy. He knows how to do it. He knows how to pressure people. And if he steps away, walks away, the whole thing collapses. That's not a business. That's a job. And then for you to come in there and try to replicate what he does, that's nearly going to be impossible. Ray Dalio built his Bridgewater to run without him. You gotta have confidence in finding people, hiring smarter people than you are. That's with systems too. That helps. You don't want anybody running based upon their culture. Hiring a GM on their culture. It's about systems, processes, and people. That's what buyers actually pay for. When I sold my hearing aid company, I documented all the processes. It was like the smartest move I made because when I put it on Empire Flippers to sell, it sold and got offers, multiple offers in 72 hours. The moment buyers saw it, that it can run without me, man, the value jumped. Could I have asked for more? I asked the CEO about that, and he said, yeah, you never know. Like one of my students, Scott, faced this choice. He looked at a catering company, totally founder dependent. Then on the other term, he had another one he was looking at. It was a one product business with a lot of room to scale, a lot more room. He picked the scalable one. So if you're buying a business, ask this question. Can this business run without the seller? Because you're going to step in those shoes. If the answer is no, you either demand a longer transition or you lower the price. If that's the scenario you can get into. Because you're not buying the seller. You're buying their system. All right, mistake number 5. Unrealistic valuations. And this happens more frequently than all. Unrealistic valuation. Sellers anchor on hype and not on fundamentals. Like AI's hot, great. Crypto's hot, great. My cousin said it's worth 12 times. My accountant says it's worth this. But the market's trading at 5 or 4 or 3. Buyers pay for fundamentals. They buy cash flow at a reasonable price, especially whatever the debt can handle, not fantasies. Buffett said, price is what you pay, value is what you get. One of my students, Sam, ran into this exact problem. Seller wanted 6x EBITDA, but because of the ugly books, meant banks would only finance at 3. We are looking at a deal right now. It's a overstock or out of production perfume cologne business, and we can't get a real estimation on the cash flow because the bank statements don't match the P&Ls. Like All right, what are we supposed to bid on? He thinks it's worth 5x. We do not. I have to say, a lot of this idea for this video camera is from Thomas Smale. He's the CEO of FE International. He's done over 1,500 exits, and he says the same thing. Most deals don't fail at the LOI. They fail in due diligence when the numbers don't support the valuation. And one of the guys I used to follow, Zig Ziglar, once said, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Sellers need to start with reality. Now, part of your job is going to be educating the seller, because you're going to ask these questions. They're going to come back and, give you the information. Then you ask another question. They'll come back with more information, because buyers aren't paying for dreams. That's not our deal. We buy cash flow at a rational price. We're paying for performance. So let's bring this all together, loop around. The 5 most common mistakes sellers make are: number 1, messy financials. Number 2, customer concentration. Number 3, hidden liabilities. Number 4, overdependence on the founder. And number 5, which we see all the time, unrealistic valuations. And every one of those mistakes is a chance for you as the buyer to negotiate better terms, to lower the price, or protect yourself from a bad deal. Remember this: sellers are going to anchor on potential, because they always put that in the sim, like what you could do to make the business better. Okay, why don't you do it yourself right now? Buyers pay for fundamentals. We're buying cash flow at a rational price. Repeat that until it sticks in your head. Or as Myron Golden says, wealth is not built on what you know, it's built in what you can systemize. That's what you're really buying: a system, not hype, not the seller, a system that makes money without you reinventing the wheel. Okay, if you found this useful, smash that subscribe button. And if you're serious about buying your first business, I can help you. Head over to dealflowsystem.net. That's where I show you how to find, fund, and close your first business the smart way. I'm Jon Stoddard. I'll see you on the next one.